Welcome to another episode of Customer Success Talks Real Challenges, Experts Advice, the podcast dedicated to providing practical, actionable, and digestible advice to those challenges that we go through as customer success managers. We are dedicated, and I say we because this is not only a one-person job. Each guest that is in each episode give their time, their insights, their energy to be on each episode to bring you all of those tactical advices, and hopefully you can apply them on your day to day. And actually, that's our goal. We are dedicated to help those transitioning to customer success and early career customer success managers. And our goal is to help you at least apply one tip for you to actually implement any tip, any strategy, anything that we give here that you can apply on your day to day. I'm your host, Byron Toruño, a customer success nerd, passionate about customer success. And just like you, I'm still learning about this amazing world of customer success. As deep as we get into customer success, the more that we find. It's incredible. It's like being in a jungle back in Costa Rica, just because it's my country. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about how to handle different customer calls as an introvert. And wait, don't leave. If you think that you're an extrovert, or if you know that you're an extrovert, yeah, we're going to talk a lot about introvert, but all of these insights that are going to be given today, it will also always work for you as well, and for anyone out there. So today we're going to tackle 4 different calls, and with us we have an amazing guest. We have the pleasure of talking about customer success with Prashad, Jothi, aka my friend Prash, host of the It All Depends podcast. 4 years of experience in customer success, 4 years in marketing as well, and also 2023 top customer success manager strategist by SuccessHacker. Wow, welcome, Prashad.
Thanks, mate. That was too nice of you for the intro, but I'm really excited and I really appreciate you having me here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And actually, I summarized it just to say there. Thank you for being here, my friend. Thank you for doing this and volunteering to do this and talk a little bit about customer success, hear about your journey, because I think that today's call is going to be more into your human and side and day to day of how you handle stuff as you propose this episode as an introvert. And before actually we go into the topic, I really want to hear a little bit more about your podcast. It all depends why you started it, and what will people expect from it.
Yeah, no, totally. So it all depends. I'll probably give you context on like why I chose the name. It all depends.
I love the
Uh,
name.
Thanks. So when I started off, like I listened to a lot of customer success pods, and one thing I saw there was a gap where like most of the guests were directors or leaders or
Mm,
managers and VPs of CS, and not many that had CSMs, the folks who did the day-to-day job in the weeds. So every time I listened to the episodes, I was like, how can I take that and action it in my day-to-day? And I couldn't, it
yeah.
was really great insights, but I just couldn't action it as a CSM. So I thought, okay, let's create a pod for that to kind of close that gap, where I only invite customer success manager, no managers, no leaders. So right now, that is my focus, to garner and glean as much tactical advice I can from those CSMs. And going back to the name, it all depends. I was like, how do you name a pod? I've never done a pod. I like, how does this
Well,
work?
I know the feeling.
And yeah, and every time I used to, like especially in the CS realm, you like every time you answer a question, you always begin with like, oh, it depends. And then you answer the question. So it's like, oh, let's just name it all depends. It kind of goes into that context of it, hence the name, because context is like so important when you're addressing CS around the tactics and the strategies that come with it. Uh, so basically, the pod basically brings in different CSMs from different industries, excuse me, different industries, different companies, and we go beyond the theory and offer practical insights, very similar to your pod actually. And, we directly from the experienced CSMs. So various aspects of the role, their daily habits, calendar management, overcoming challenges, learning from failures, working with sales, and all that good stuff.
All of those things that we wake up excited to do every day. Well, in the about section, everyone go right there. Go ahead and follow Prash. Go ahead and go and follow his podcast because it is a lot of tactical tips. And like you said, similar to this one, when I started into customer success almost 1 year and a couple of months, I was like, oh, this sounds so excited, but I don't understand it. It's just too high into that. I don't get it. So what about if I try and bring something more into the ground and more tactical? Are you ready for today?
Let's do it.
Amazing. So let me recap a little bit how to handle different customer calls as an introvert. So, of course, you are an introvert, right?
Yep.
How do you, how is your day to day as an introvert outside of customer success?
So the funny thing is, right, everyone like who knows me, and now my colleague, whether that's my friends, when I tell them that, hey, I'm a CSM, they'll be like, okay, so what do you do exactly? So I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
oh, I speak to customers almost every day. They're like, dude,
Customer
really?
service?
And you enjoy that, like speaking to people. Previously, we were talking about the ambivert terminology. It's like a mix of like extrovert and introvert. And my case is like most of the time I'm an introvert, but then once I'm comfortable with someone, once I'm with my close friends, for example, I'm like an extrovert. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I share and talk freely, and I enjoy that with the people that I like. I love spending time with. But apart from that, uh, this is like a this basically drains me, like
Yeah.
talking to people, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
That's why it's like it's ironic, right? So I'm a CSM, but talking to people drains me. It's like so weird. But I love my job. If my manager is listening to this,
Oops.
so so outside of CSM, that is how it is, mate. But then, uh, within the like when I'm at work, for example, if I've had like 4 calls, like on an average, I'll have 3 to 4 calls, which is
Mhm.
around 30 minutes each, more or less. So after that, I'm like drained out. I don't want to hang out as much or do much social. My social battery is like gone down. I have a 3-year-old son, so I love spending time with him. And just that actually helps me recharge. So that's how my introvert life is at the moment.
Interesting. I myself, Prash, I consider myself an extrovert,
Mhm.
but I tend then like suddenly I'm like, okay, bye everyone. The party was great. I'm gonna go and sleep, Ciao. Like I think, and I did a test, and I'm not gonna recommend anyone in a specific test because we are not experts on this, but I did a test, and it said that I'm a 60% extrovert and a 40% introvert. And I was doing a research about what does that mean, and I found that there is, like you said, a term called ambivert, and it's basically this characteristics of a mix of both. So it's a person who is able to kind of adapt into a situation, and then but in my case I feel I'm that, but it's cool because you can adapt, but at the same time people are expecting to see, okay, so you are extrovert, okay, and then they treat you as extrovert, but then suddenly you're like, yeah, but I'm down. I don't want to talk to anyone anymore.
Yeah, no, I can relate to that. Even like when we hang out, like for example, we right now today, is the last day of the month, and we have like a celebration, end of the month kind of hangout after work today. So so whenever I go there, I have like a few of my people, if you know what I mean, my
Mhm.
colleagues who I stick with and who I'm with and having a drink, and then if someone additional comes up, and then we'll have a conversation, but I don't have a conversation for too long. What I'm really good at is that I'm really good at the one-on-one relationship.
Oh.
Hence, like I'm good at being at being a CSM, at
Uh-huh.
CSMing. because it's usually one-on-one. So I'm really good at building that one-on-one relationship, having a conversation. What I enjoy is like deep conversation and not the surface or small talk that we'll be talking about later is what I don't enjoy. I love deep talks and like building that strong relationship. Hence, like you'll see me with the same people during lunch at work,
Mm,
things like that. Yeah. I mean pros and cons, but yeah, that's
there are
who I
pros and
am.
cons, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'm really good at asking questions, so it's like I don't talk, you talk.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
listen. That's why I think automatically I'm a host of a podcast. I think too because I have that let's call it skill. We're gonna tackle different calls for today, and the first call that we're gonna tackle is the introduction call. When we were planning today's episode, you gave a list of different type of calls that you handle on your day to day as a customer success manager, and I was like, okay, actually, let's go and tackle each one of them. And here we're not going to share strategies into how to upsell or how to renew or how to avoid churn. It's basically how you, as an introvert, you tackle different type of scenarios, and that way maybe it will. I'm pretty sure, no, maybe I'm pretty sure that it will help someone out there that might go through these challenges. And I feel that introverts tend to be good listeners and are aware of the surrounding as well, which means that they know a lot. And the first call that we're going to tackle is the introduction call. And I think that one of the difficult parts, even for everyone, about an introduction call, about someone that you don't know yet and is a customer, is how to have a small talk. And the small talks create a sense of belonging. And it's a part of building relationships, right? And building that rapport. Prash, how do you even start a small talk? What strategies or how do you actually get into that first call and to have a small talk and to start getting to know that person when you just barely know them as an
No,
introvert?
that's No, that's such a great question because, like, when I started off at being a CSM, that is the one thing that I really sucked at, and I just like dreaded it. Like, oh, okay, you get on a call, and they're like, "Hey, how are you?" Like, "Yeah, how are you?" I'm like, "Good." And then it's like, okay, what's directly get into the agenda of things, which is like you build no rapport at all. Uh, so a couple of things that I do is again like different scenarios. So one scenario, let's say I've been transferred a customer from another CSM.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, let's In that scenario, what I'll do is I'll refer to the notes that the previous CSM has, because we do have handover notes where we have to fill those in, and those have apart from the business details, they also have a part on the building rapport piece. So, for
Oh, wow.
example, the CSM might have written a note like, "Oh, they recently got married. They went on their sabbatical. They recently bought a house. They have two sons. They have a cat. Things like that, personal information. So I'll refer to that, and I wouldn't like just suddenly bring that up during a call because it's like
Uh-huh.
first call. I was like, hey, I heard that you have two sons, and that's weird, right? So I wouldn't like straight up bring that up. But if during the conversation, what I would do is actually I would share if for example, taking the example of those two sons. Let's say they have two sons. I'll be like, oh, I actually just dropped my son in the daycare,
Right.
so I had to rush back. I will share proactively something related to that, which will trigger their side of the story. With like, oh, okay, yeah, I understand. I can relate to that. I've been through that. I have two sons, for example. You might expect a reply like that. So I will refer to the note of the previous CSM. The other thing, so we use Gong here in HubSpot.
Mm,
So
yeah.
Gong, we were talking about this
Yeah.
in our previous call, and it has really not it has really good AI feature called Ask Anything. So what it does is it basically if I'm prepping for that first call, uh, I'll just type like, oh, what are the things that I can use to build rapport? Just straight up, I can ask that.
That's really smart move.
Yeah, and what it'll do is it'll actually scan all the calls and even the emails. It'll scan even the notes because it's synced with the CRM. So it'll sync everything. It'll go through and scan everything, and then it'll give me a list of things that I can use. So I can then use those notes, and then I can, however, I can bring that up during my call. So that's one way of doing it. Uh, the quick one would be like, for example, let's say you are my customer and I see you have loads of book at the back. So I'll actually use that. Hey, I see that you read a lot. Like, what have you been reading recently?
Oh, because I'm so
Uh,
smart.
yeah, and then I'll be like, oh, I was reading this book, have you
Yeah.
read this? So just building that. And trust me, it's going to take a while. Like, at least for me, it took a while to get comfortable with these conversations, with having these, notes and resources that I can leverage to start off that conversation. If not, I mean, I'm based in Dublin. We cannot have a call without talking about weather. It's always gonna be, oh, how's the weather? The weather sucks. It's what mostly the answer is every day. But like today, it's like lovely and it's super sunny and warm. So we always talk about weather. Uh, uh, so that's there. But apart from that, these are the notes that I use. Check what's something I notice on their background. Where are they based in? That's actually a good one as well.
Hmm.
I was like, hey, where are you based in? And it was like, okay, I'm based in Berlin. I was like, oh, I was there a couple of months ago, or I know a friend from there. So just these things, these little things. What I try to do as an introvert, that I proactively share first, and then that
Yeah.
actually triggers
And that's key.
them
Hmm.
sharing. Yeah, comparatively, it's more difficult to get them to share something without you having something to share. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense. You're giving too many tools here. You're giving all your arsenal. Prash, but do you feel any type of stress, anxiety, or you feel nervous before going into an introduction? Probably nowadays you're more experienced, but when at the beginning, were you feeling like any anxiety or any nervousness before going into a call like this? Even thinking about small
oh
talk.
every single time, I'll be so anxious. I'll take like 30, 40 minutes before the call just to prepare for that call. It's like I'll take longer to prepare than the call itself. uh and I think I just need I had to accept the fact that I'm going to learn by doing. That
Mm,
is, for me personally, that is how I learn, by doing, and not the theory based. What actually helped me when I started off was a lot of role plays. And so we had I had a mentor, and he was really good. He was very like tactical, a very practical guy, and he intentionally was super hard on myself. Like
mm.
very difficult, act like a very difficult customer, get me in like corner me into some difficult question. So once I've like gone through that, I'm more comfortable getting into the real calls. So that actually helped me. So even if you don't have a mentor, maybe just do a call with a senior CSM or your
Mhm.
colleague who's been there for long. That's a good way to kind of overcome this. The other one is like I'm a very structured guy. I thrive in structure, so I need to have like proper structure, proper format. So that actually gives me security in a
Yeah.
way.
Mhm.
So I use my joint success plan, which has all the objectives and all the process workflows that the customer has, all the reports and data that they want. So I can use that. I'm prepped for the call. So preparation is really key. So, and I use my structure to do that. So that's joint success plan, the previous conversation notes that I have. So once I have those two contexts, then I go into the call with an agenda. And I also give the customer a heads up on the agenda, set expectation.
Mhm.
And this is what I'm going to talk to you about. If you have anything, give me do share with me prior to the call, so I'm best prepared for the call and that the call is more productive. So it's preparing myself for the call, setting expectation with the customer, and like having that role play in the back of my
Mhm.
experience and just doing it. It's just getting in those reps, basically. You're not going to get better just like after a call or after a month, even. It's going to take a while. So just
Yeah.
accepting the fact that it is going to take a while, but you need to get in those reps.
Do you want to be my mentor?
How much are you going to pay me?
Well, Prash, and during this call, it's gonna be all about preparation, and that's key for introverts, extroverts, ambiverts, and let me create a word, let's say Hebrewverts, because preparation is key. With preparation, it reduces the anxiety. And I learned this recently in a workshop of emotional intelligence with Janelle Friday that stress is something that comes from outside and anxiety is something that is internal. And by preparing and also creating those possible scenarios that you can prepare yourself with a balance, it's easily for you to gain that confidence and just go and be more genuine into, oh, I'm gonna meet a new person, let me know a little bit more about them. And it's so cool that you in your company you have already notes focusing on those part of building reports. It makes it so much easy. And going back into Kong, I use Python and either our sponsoring our podcast, but we're still going to mention them. They also have this AI that can indeed help you out a lot. So just use tools as well.
No, totally, totally. And this actually reminds me of one of the quotes. Like this is basically my CSM philosophy. It's from Lincoln Murphy, and his quote is like, "You can focus on adoption, retention, expansion, or advocacy, or you can focus on the customer's desired outcome and get all those things." I always keep that, like I have that in my desktop, like I have that as a reminder, like desired outcome. That is what you want to focus on, not expansion, not outcome, and all that stuff, all the metrics piece, but desired outcome. What do you want to achieve? Let's do that. So the
Yeah.
renewal will be a non-event. The expansion will be like come organically, because you help them achieve the desired outcome. I mean, easier said than done, but then it's good to have that in your in your head.
And it is better to start with that phrase with full of wisdom versus starting right away into, oh, let's go and create a framework, let's do this. By starting small and sweet and beautiful and simple, then the other strategies are going to come.
Yeah.
And I like that because I use something similar, or I will say it's the same, but I use a different wording, and it's that focusing on the customer and the rest is the outcome. And basically that's
Nice.
what he's saying,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Let's touch on difficult calls. Even by saying it, it's a little bit of uh, what strategies do you use as an introvert to be ready or to handle those difficult calls with customers that sometimes, not sometimes, actually, it happens often, or not, doesn't need to happen often, but if you're sure that it will happen, it's part of our day to day. How do you handle those difficult calls with the customer?
First of all, I had to like really change my perspective. Again, like it didn't happen like immediately, but then when
Mm-hmm.
I started off being a CSM, going back to those days, it's always like the moment like you get one of those emails from a customer, like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm having those issues, I need to get on a call. And you go into that anxious mode. At least me, I would immediately go into that anxious mode. Always be thinking about that. Like if it's, let's say it's on Friday, today's Wednesday, if
Oh,
it's on Friday, I'll be thinking about that. And the worst thing is like it also affected my personal life as well, where I was going to sleep and then I would actually think of that as well when I'm playing with my son. So that kind of really pissed me off as well. It was annoying me, like, why am I letting this affect me? So one of my mentors, he actually helped me change my perspective is that don't tag it as difficult conversation.
uh,
Just tag it as it's a mere conversation. Because once you just label it as difficult conversation, from the get-go, you've already made it difficult. Like even if it's not. made a difficult conversation,
Yeah, that's
So
true.
just tagging that, like it's a very small thing, very basic thing, but just it's a mere conversation that you're gonna have with the customer. Let's start with that, just changing that perspective. So that kind of helped me well to kind of at least like bring down my anxiety. Uh, and I used to get like really warm on the ears. I don't know if you feel that sometimes in those kind of anxious calls, like warm in my ears, and I'm like my heart is beating, and I'm getting on a call and all that. So that actually helped me. And going back to the preparation, so I'm prepared. I've done my research. Uh,
Hmm.
I'll actually ask them. So let's say they want to talk the difficult conversation, so called is some product frustration that they have. So I'll ask them in the email that, hey, what exactly is that? Give me the context. So I'm well prepared, and the call is productive. So once I get that context, I'll actually go through all the different cross-functional teams and resources. But then I need to realize that it's not my job to have all the answers.
That's right.
My job is to identify what can and can't be resolved, in my case, using a HubSpot product and services, and basically remove the roadblocks by connecting the customers to the right resource. So the outcome of that difficult conversation is to de-escalate the situation, either solving the customer's problem or connect them with someone else who can. So I basically want to reduce friction and and any major impact on the customer experience as a whole. So I need to be empathetic to the customer's frustration, and I basically need to allow them the space to express how they feel, and then accurately diagnose the problem before even jumping on a solution. But the key is, like, I'm not going to have all the answers to it, but I am the driver to direct them to the right channel. So even realizing that, okay, one thing firstly is like it's a mere conversation, it's not a
Hmm.
difficult
Hmm.
conversation. I won't have all the answers, but I can direct them to and connect them to the right team if need be to get those answered. Great.
Love that formula because it all starts with the mindset, right? In my case, any trigger of anxiety or stress, it accumulates in my stomach. And man, it's so
Oh
difficult to
man.
eat like that or sometimes to sleep. And it's all about the mindset of changing stuff because sometimes we have had those emails and we're like, oh my God, what is going to happen? But sometimes it's maybe a confusion or a customer education, something really simple. And one got stressed the whole weekend for something that might be difficult. I mean, easy to solve. And sometimes if they're difficult, well, you are the expert on your customer and you will by then understand the type of customer, the personality, what the conversations that you have had with them and kind of imagine what they're looking for. And you also touch on mentor and you touch on mentor several times and how important it is to have a mentor with you. It's so important to hear the perspective of the outside of the box point of view from someone. It's something that I always recommend, and also communities can help you out with that. So I want to highlight that part. It seems like it has been really a journey for you with your mentor, right?
Yes, it has. So how it works. So how it worked for me was when you join HubSpot as a CSM, you would you go through onboarding, and then you'll be mapped with a mentor for 60 days.
Ah, okay.
So who's an experienced tenured CSM. So I got one from his name is Patrick, and he was in the strategic account CSM. So loved working with him. The guy who gave me a hard time with the role plays is that guy. Uh,
Hey to
so
Patrick.
so he really like set me up for the win with these conversations. And then after that, you actually map with the team lead from your team. So the team lead is with you for 6 months. So they're not like a mentor, but then you can reach out to them. You can get on a call with them if you have a customer scenario that you wanna, that you're confused, that you're stuck with. You can actually get on a call, and they'll actually help. So they have a program. So that's the HubSpot setup. What I actually also have done is and I did this recently. I refer to Lincoln Murphy, right? So he's
Mm-hmm.
one of the legends, and he recently, it was last month, so I'm subscribed to his newsletter, and he released like, hey, I'm opening up 5 coaching slots and
Whoa.
X number of courses. So and also just in full transparency, so HubSpot has a tuition reimbursement program every year. So we get X number of dollars that you can use towards these courses, which are relevant to your role. So I used part of it and added up, topped up with my money to actually get him as a coach. So I had a call with him
Oh,
last
completely a
week.
big investment.
Yeah, last week, and
Nice.
it was great. It was a great call. It was with regards to my career and also how I approach certain customer scenarios. It's really helpful, you know. It's actually a cheat code in a way, like because once you get a mentor, they've been there, done that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's like a cheat code where you don't have to try figuring out, you know,
I like the
like
way that you're saying it. Yeah, it's true.
just like take what they've done, use that, and
Do
then
it.
adapt and make changes to your situation and scenarios. Maybe it
Mm-hmm.
might not be like for like, but then that's a better start than just trying to figure it out, you know?
That's true. That's true. Completely. And it's nice that you went through that experience. And it's also funny that you put it on that way. I completely agree. I have had some mentors, good mentors as well. And that's true. They help you a lot. And it's almost like you are, instead of jogging, you're running in your career. But I notice as well that when presenting something or doing something in the moment, they're not there. So that's also like the part of, what would this person do in this case? It's like,
Yeah.
Prash, it's time to start wrapping up today's episode, man. Thank you very, very much for your time, for all the calls that we had before. And I just want to wrap up today's call with a simple question, which is, can you share a time when you fucked up and what did you learn from it?
Yeah. Oh, how much time do we have? Uh,
Oh,
which shit show?
that many stories?
Which shit show do you want to hear about? But no, I was thinking about this when I was preparing for the pod. Basically, don't make any assumption. That's the one thing I actually learned uh, from my very first manager in the advertising industry
Yeah, me
was like
too.
assumption is like she used to say the word that I hate the most is assumption, and like just don't assume that the customers are going to renew. Just assume the opposite rather, you know, like oh they're most likely not going to renew, so I'm going to work with them, you know. But having just that mindset, like hey, don't make any assumption, even if it's high product usage, continue to build that relationship and start uh, the real conversation. I've been doing a real conversation since then, like 6 months in advance, and
Yeah.
I gotten bold to like just ask straight up. You know, like at the beginning, I didn't used to do that. I was like shy, like introvert. You know, I was like, I think it's kind of rude to ask them. I was like, what the fuck? It's like,
Why
why is
am I
that
talking
rude?
about this six
Yeah,
months
yeah.
before?
I was like, okay, hey, your renewal is coming up. Uh, do you have any plans to renew, or do you have any other plans? The other thing, last bit before I close is uh, small thing that I did was from my colleague. Actually, I learned this, and in her meeting link form, right? When you send your meeting link, and then the customer has to fill in that form to book a call with you, she actually has a form field which say how likely are you to renew,
Yeah.
one to
Wow.
five a rating, and that gives you a really good indication. I was like, okay, and then when they get on a call, if they gave you a two, it was like, hey, I noticed you gave me a two. Like, what's up? Why did you give a two? What's happening? If there's a five, it's like, hey, I would still bring that up because of the lesson learned, no
Yeah.
assumption. I was like, hey, you put five, like, okay, like what is going great? You know, how can we make it even better? So yeah, just the last bit that I learned, which has been helpful with all this. But yeah, that's the a couple of fuck ups.
We could easily make another episode about how we all fucked up. Seems easy. it's crazy because sometimes we are afraid of actually asking the customer, if you would renew today, will you actually renew with us? And I can understand why, but I can also understand why you touch a lot on preparation based on your stories, like all that you said, like don't assume. And that's an advice that Ed Powers gave me one day that we were recording one of the first episodes here in Customer Success Talks, and he's like, never assume. Never assume. That simple. Prash, thank you very much for your time, your insights. Man, it has been super fun. I love recording this with you, and I hope we can meet in person one day. Thank you for your time.
Hey, thanks, man. Thanks again for like having me. This was really fun chatting to you. Yeah, hopefully we meet up somewhere in Amsterdam or in Dublin. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Or in Costa Rica. You never know.
Hey,
You never
yeah.
know. Everyone, thank you so much for your time, for your support, for being here with us. And remember, keep learning, keep growing, and let's keep improving the world of customer success. Until next time.